I argue that when we have general intelligence, it's basically the end of work. Imagine a machine can do pretty much anything you explained it to do, from driving a car to flying an airplane to running the stock market to making a real estate deal for you to looking for the right date and so on. That would eventually replace all of our work. And then we're going to live in a world without work and without purpose because the AI will do all of this. Mustafa Suleyman, who is in charge of AI for Microsoft, he warns that AI is fundamentally a labor-replacing tool. And I think that's not true for AI that helps us to do stuff, but it's true for AI that becomes super intelligent because then it can teach itself. And then the question is what happens to us? And it leads to rapid automation of everything, a sort of post-work society, which could be good if we have the right argument. But we already seen this happening with many companies like IBM and Bank of America and Morgan Stanley saying, we don't hire people anymore, we get better AI. If that's the future, will that work? Once we have superintelligence, those arguments are moot. And when we look at the discussion in Silicon Valley, the Techno-Optimist manifesto from Mark Andreessen, that speaks volumes about what's happening in America and in Silicon Valley. Mark Andreessen, of course, the most powerful investor in the history of Silicon Valley, he says no material problem, including those caused by technology, cannot be solved with more technology. Think about that for a sec. No material problem cannot be solved with technology. So that means when we have a problem with AI, we use more AI to solve the problems with AI. Does that make sense to you? How much trust do you have in technology to believe that? He also says this, which I think will make you cringe. We believe that any deceleration of AI will cost lives. Deaths that were preventable by the AI that was prevented from existing is a form of murder. So not inventing AI that could help people to solve deathly problems would be like killing. That's his argument. Freeman Dyson, one of the key scientists behind the Manhattan Project, he summarized an experience he had right after all of that happened. He says, I have felt it myself, the glitter of nuclear weapons. It is irresistible if you come to them as a scientist. To feel it's there in your hands, to release this energy that fuels the stars, to let it do your bidding, to perform these miracles, to lift 1 million tons of rock into the sky. He described how scientists felt about inventing this most powerful weapon. I think this is what people feel like that want to invent AGI, because they can say, we invented something this powerful. So you're in a class of scientists completely by yourself. Another argument for not having AGI is that it cannot be done safely. There's no way that you can imagine that you can control an entity with an IQ of 2 billion. Many people have written about this. The computer science professor Roman Yampolsky talked about this. He says on the argument how it works, essentially AI creates a black box where decisions are being made that are powerful, but it will become inscrutable. We don't know how it's being decided. And it's uncontrollable because we can't switch it off anymore. To humans, that becomes essentially the controlling entity. So the hope of controlling that technology is almost zero. And it would be the biggest black box ever invented. And all we could do is say yes. If we say no, it would shut down, and then we shut down. So there would be no chance for us to control it. And it wouldn't understand real life. It would only understand digital life. Going back to Bill Joy from 2000 Wired magazine, Why the Future Doesn't Need Us. He says, eventually a stage may be reached at which the decisions necessary to keep the systems running will be so complex that human beings will be incapable of making any decisions. At that stage, the machines would be in effective control. And that was in 2000, right? And now we're at this point, we can't even verify how these machines work. And many scientists, including the Nobel laureate Hans Bethe, he says we need a pledge to cease and desist from working on creating, developing, improving, manufacturing weapons of mass destruction and technology of mass destruction, which AI would count for. Especially when we find that AGI could self-replicate and create what we call intelligence explosion, which means that one AGI could upgrade itself in a perpetual motion, because of course we're talking about technology, not physical things. And on top of that, even in the current iteration, AI is already a disaster for the environment, because we need more data centers, more computing, more GPUs, and it's anticipated that the amount of emissions from data centers and AI will be 3 times as much as before last year in the next 3 years.